My husband's private jet roared off, leaving me stranded in a stormy airstrip, laughing with his mistress on board. He thought I'd chase him. Instead, I rented my own jet to Dubai. Mid-air, his phone blew up. Leaked affairs, frozen accounts, revoked CEO title. Now he's grounded. Permanently. I stood on the rain-soaked tarmac, watching my husband's private jet roar into the storm clouds, his laughter still ringing in my ears as he departed with his mistress on board. In that moment, the jet, purchased with my father's company profits, became the perfect symbol of Robert's betrayal. As the aircraft disappeared into the dark sky, I knew with absolute certainty. He expected me to chase after him to beg for his return. Instead, I pulled out my phone to charter my own flight to Dubai. I had everything I needed to ground him, permanently. But my story didn't start here. It began 6 months earlier with my father's death and an inheritance that would change everything. The rain had pelted against the window of my father's hospital room as I clutched his hand for the last time. His fingers, once strong enough to build Hartwell Foods from nothing but a small sandwich shop into a regional powerhouse, now felt fragile in mine. The monitor flatlined, and just like that, I became both an orphan and the unexpected CEO of a multi-million-dollar company at 34. "Miss Hartwell," the hospital chaplain said gently, "would you like a moment alone?" I nodded, unable to speak through the knot in my throat. Dad had always told me I'd inherit the business someday, but someday was supposed to be decades from now, not after a sudden heart attack took him at 62. The first week after Dad's funeral passed in a blur of black clothes and casseroles. Robert, my husband of 8 years, handled everything. The funeral arrangements, the endless stream of visitors, even making sure I ate. "You don't need to worry about anything right now," he whispered, holding me each night as I cried myself to sleep. "I've got you." When Dad's attorney, Mr. Greenberg, called about the will reading, Robert took the day off from his accounting job to come with me. I gripped his hand under the conference table as Mr. Greenberg adjusted his glasses and began reading the document that would change everything. "To my daughter, Sarah Elizabeth Hartwell, I leave my entire estate, including 100% ownership of Hartwell Foods Incorporated." Mr. Greenberg paused to look at me over his glasses. "Your father was very specific that the company should pass to you alone." I felt Robert's hand tighten slightly around mine. Dad had always been fond of Robert, but he'd never offered him a position at the company despite Robert's not-so-subtle hints about wanting to leave his accounting firm. "The company needs fresh blood," Dad would say, "but family businesses need clear leadership." The weeks that followed were a crash course in food industry management. I'd worked summers at Hartwell Foods during college and had been handling marketing for the past 5 years, but suddenly I was responsible for everything. Supply chains, distribution contracts, personnel issues, and financial decisions that affected the livelihoods of over 200 employees. "You look exhausted," Robert said one night, massaging my shoulders as I reviewed quarterly projections. "Why don't you take a break? We could grab dinner at Antonio's like we used to." I leaned into his touch, realizing we hadn't had a proper date night in weeks. "That sounds perfect. Just give me 15 minutes to finish this email." Over candlelight and red wine, I felt like myself again for the first time since Dad died. Robert charmed me with stories from his office and made me laugh until my sides hurt. This was the man I'd fallen in love with in graduate school. Supportive, funny, and able to make me forget my worries. "Thank you," I said, reaching across the table for his hand. "For everything these past months. I couldn't have managed without you." He smiled, but something flickered in his eyes. "Happy to help. Though I wish I could do more than just be your shoulder to cry on. I've been thinking, maybe I could help with the company finances? Take some of the burden off you." I hesitated. Robert was brilliant with numbers, but Dad's warning about clear leadership echoed in my mind. "Let me think about it," I said gently. "Right now, I'm still figuring things out myself." As spring turned to summer, I slowly found my footing at Hartwell Foods. The company had been Dad's life's work, and I was determined to honor his legacy. We launched a new line of organic sauces that had been Dad's pet project before he died, and sales exceeded our projections by 30%. "We should celebrate," Robert suggested when I shared the good news. "This calls for champagne." That night, as we toasted to success, I noticed how genuinely happy Robert seemed for me. He'd been my rock throughout this transition, never complaining when I worked late or brought spreadsheets to bed. In that moment, I made a decision. Robert's 40th birthday was approaching in August and I wanted to do something meaningful.